Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to this exciting AMA session today to deep dive into Near Blockchain Operating System. I'm Anling, your host of today. I'm thrilled to be here with our two distinguished guests, Illia and Amos, who will take over the chat shortly and share their experience and insight with us. Illia is the co-founder of Near Protocol and also brain behind BOS. Previously, Illia was an engineer manager at Google Research. He co-authored Attention is All You Need, which is the technology powering GPT model, and he's a major contributor to TensorFlow, Google's AI framework. Amos is the managing partner at MetaWeb Ventures, and he's also an early contributor of Near. MetaWeb is a 30 million USD global fund investing in disruptive blockchain technologies. Some of the notable backers include Sequoia, Dragonfly, GSR, 7X, and more. But before we dive in, let me remind you that we have a special giveaway plan for everyone who's joining us live today, so stay tuned. Okay, let's get started. My first question is for Illia. So Near Protocol is evolving from a layer 1 for smart contract to the blockchain operating system for Web3. Can you give us a short introduction to BOS and its current status?
Hey, yeah, so great to be here. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining. So the idea behind blockchain operating system is really to coalesce all of the kind of great ideas that Web3 has and present them to the user in a kind of friendly way. And really kind of we position blockchain operating system as a platform to discover and experience open web applications that is compatible with any blockchain protocol. And kind of the core of this, has been obviously driven by Near and functionality that Near Protocol has delivered, but at the same time, there's a lot of innovation that's happening across the Web3 industry. And so the idea has been, how do we really create something that as a normal user, you don't need to think about, what blockchain is used underneath, how exactly our specific, technology works, but really can navigate between application, different blockchains, can kind of experience it as a single platform. So from a current status perspective, we have kind of recently released the blockchain operating system with like initial set of features. And so one of the really exciting innovations, what we call discovery, which is decentralized front ends that you can leverage across different blockchains. And so, Amos, if you can pull up near.org, the really cool thing about near.org now is actually the content and the code, the source code of the website itself is coming from the blockchain. So it's a fully decentralized application on itself, and everything you see is actually stored on blockchain. And the way you can look into this is if you navigate to the develop tab on the top, you can actually see exactly which kind of component is powering it. And if you open the details there, you can see exactly the implementation as well as who built it and which other components, kind of pieces of the ecosystem are used, right? So all of this is powered by kind of Near Protocol behind the scene, but at the same time provides good user experience and is fully decentralized. Yeah, if you navigate to history, you can see the actual changes and the block number when the code change happened. And so this is all live, this is all working. But blockchain operating system is not just this. This is kind of a piece of it. There's a lot of other layers that powering this, right? For example, notifications that are enabling this kind of discovery and navigation across the ecosystem. And so if you, for example, type in Lido, you can actually see like applications of other blockchains, right, that you can discover on this platform. And then the other part of this, like one of the big challenges that Web3 had is onboarding and kind of initial engagement of the users. And so with that, kind of with the launch, we've launched as well the fast auth, which is the fastest way to onboard users, Web3 and Web2. And it's leveraging a number of technologies under the hood, but kind of in the end gives the user a way to sign up, create an account, and start using blockchain in about 5 seconds. You don't need seed phrases, you don't need kind of set up wallets, etc. It's all kind of done for you. You have email recovery, and there's a lot of things kind of powering that behind the scene. So, it's as easy as entering kind of your email, like it suggests you a username, and you can pick one and get an email to verify. And as soon as you verify, you have an account, and you're actually using MetaWeb transactions to start transacting the blockchain right away as you do that. I know I missed a few kind of verified right now, but kind of that's a flow. And that, like, again, blockchain operating system is really this combination of different aspects of innovation that kind of coalesce. And, there's obviously still a lot to build, but the initial version, right, is out there, and we see developers starting to adopt it and leverage it.
Okay, thank you, Illia. Thank you for giving us an introduction about BOS and also give us a few use cases. Do you have more use cases to add?
For sure, yeah. I mean, the core of this is obviously it's a developer platform, and so developers come with use cases. Like I'm actually here in Korea. I just saw some of the hackathon winners from Glitch, which built some really exciting stuff. But kind of the things that are already there are, for example, a lot of DeFi applications are already building blockchain operating system, because for them actually having a decentralized front end is extremely important. It gives them the new level of censorship resistance. It gives them the new level of actually verifiability, because now they can deploy smart contract and the front end at the same time from the same DAO, from the same multisig, making sure that users are not getting, for example, phished by a fake website. At the same time, for example, games and kind of entertainment use cases are really kind of can leverage this, because it removes a lot of the onboarding hurdles that kind of they generally face, right, when they're talking about Web3. One of the other kind of technologies that Near has is called KeyPalm, that really allowing to create kind of very smooth onboarding, allows to, for example, drop NFTs or drop tokens or accounts that are like restricted for specific permissions. And so this allows you to actually, like, if you already have an audience, for example, for existing games, you can drop them, for example, a treasure box or a specific item. They can click on it. It will automatically create an account under the hood. They don't even know about that. Using it, they already have an account. They already have kind of an NFT in a game, and they can interact with it, right? So things like that, you can really engage your audiences. Obviously, this is very powerful for marketing and remarketing the users, and kind of drives the bottom line. The other, like, and kind of because in one platform, you now have all those users to interact between each other. So kind of really enabling this smooth transition from I'm not familiar with Web3 to hey, I have something in Web3 and I can interact with it, and then finding out all of the different other aspects of Web3 that you can interact with, right, through that, and kind of this very step-by-step onboarding is extremely important.
Okay, thank you, Illia. Amos, do you have any follow-up question you want to ask Illia?
Yeah, I think just want to kind of like further touch upon that. Just want to dive deep a little bit, because I'm sure a lot of the people in the audience in the community have been wondering, like, what are like the strongest like motivation for Near to do this almost full success rebranding from like a marketing perspective, but more importantly from the product perspective, right? So obviously we get that this is beneficial to the users to some extent. I just kind of want to get your take on this. On the first-hand basis, what's like the strongest motivation for you to decide to make this switch?
For sure. I mean, it's not really a switch because kind of Near started with the spirit of how do we make Web3 usable, right, for developers and for users. And, scalability first thing that needed to be solved because that seemed like a core problem at a time where, you're trying to launch an application and, if you have like 100 users, right, you're already flooding the chain and you cannot do anything, right? So that's where we started, and we really built kind of Near protocol to be a blockchain. While we did it, we really focused on usability as well. So we focused on account abstraction that Near has, which is extremely powerful, which powers a lot of this fast auth, key POM, and many other functionality. Actually, a really cool project just launched called NameSky, which allows us to sell, like turn your Near account into NFT, sell it on the marketplace, and then turn the NFT back into Near account. Again, powering by Near account model, which is extremely flexible. And so that was kind of a fundamental block that needed to be built to really enable this kind of Web3 future that we all talk about. And then mainnet, and we started growing the ecosystem. Kind of the next step was really like leveling up the developer tooling, right? So a lot of time, for example, Pagoda spent on building out JavaScript SDK, right? How do we bring next tens of millions of developers into this? This is not by that new programming language. And again, like I just saw a hackathon winners here. Like most of them are coming from Web2, either like new from school or existing developers, and none of them wanted to learn EVM, right? They wanted to just start building right away. And so JavaScript SDK has powered that extremely, kind of all of the tooling around that. Like we have, think like data indexers and lakes that enable kind of extremely fast build out of powerful data aggregation platforms. And now with all that built, right, the next challenge that developers faced has users, right? So you would be able to kind of build out the application really quickly on Near, but then you would face this challenge that users either would have still challenged to onboard, or that you have kind of no network effects because the user basis has been very fractured between all of those chains, right? So you ended up kind of having this like almost tribalism of users, which is really doesn't make much sense in Web3. Like we're not that big, and we like trying to build out this future together. And so kind of this is where we've been trying to figure out with kind of next iteration. Okay, well, how do we solve that problem? And kind of the fundamental solution here is really continue abstracting away the complexity of the blockchain, right? Continue removing the boundary. And so kind of a lot of it went into how do we onboard Ethereum users and EVM users more broadly to start using the platform? How do we onboard new users who don't have any crypto to be able to start engaging with this? And at the same time, how do we re-engage the users, right? One of the other challenges developers have is you have a bunch of users, like you did an airdrop, a bunch of people came, and then you have no way to re-engage them. Like you literally have no way to like send a notification that you have a new feature to people who have tried you before. And so all of this kind of really gave them motivation for blockchain operating system is how do we create a layer that like a kind of framework that coalesces all the innovation that happens and at the same time powers kind of developers to build applications that really easy to onboard, engaging, really easy to find and navigate, and they're able to kind of create network effects around them as well. And so that's why a blockchain operating system contains, fast onboarding, has, trial accounts, kind of guest accounts. It has, role for engagement, discovery and enablement, notification, search, meta transactions, so users don't need to pay transaction fees initially, and many more components actually coming online over this year and next year to really kind of create a full platform that developers can leverage. And I think that's like really just a completion of the vision that we set out to do is like how do we make blockchain usable? Is just all of those pieces really coming together and then enabling new apps and new use cases to flourish.
And that's really helpful because I guess the question mainly coming from the so-called traditional view of what blockchain should be, right? But I remember all the way back in the beginning, Near's goal is always to try to, onboard the mainstream users from outside the Web3, because to be honest, even after the recent, bull run, the actual Web3 user space is actually still quite tiny. So Near's, position is really just try to create whatever, technology necessary. In the beginning, it was more about scalability, the usability, and now is more about building the blockchain operating system on top of this to combine all of this to enable such adoption happening. So I think that's really, really cool. But I guess one question, just to follow up on that, because one thing you mentioned, which traditionally is quite strange from like a public chain perspective, is that you mentioned that a lot of the EVM chain might be actually willing to, use BOS on top of it. But in a traditional sense, all the different public chains are kind of competing with each other, right? So I'm just kind of curious, what would your response be that, like, why would other blockchain, want to support both? And more specifically, is there any, big partnership, you have planned, or is such, integration already happening?
Yeah, so that's a great question. The kind of part of the whole idea here is really to go away from this traditional thinking, right? I think it's the same, going from Bitcoin to Ethereum, right? There was a lot of people who are pushing back on kind of this idea of, powerful smart contract running on chain. And, we're probably going to have some of that happening here because kind of we're trying to, change a little bit the mindset and for the better. And I think this will take time for some, and I think some already on board and understand the power of this. And I think from a perspective of working with other kind of blockchains, layer ones, layer twos, etc., the offering here is really very simple, right? It's a combination of tools that enable a faster onboarding for their users, easier discovery for their applications, and better retention and re-engagement, right? And this is like, if you go to developers and you actually ask them what are their problems, this is their problems. They like, and if you go beyond like past this like tribalism of like, oh, this is this layer or that layer or whatever, and you're like, hey, I need to solve problems, right? Like I'm running an app and I need to gain more users and they need to engage more, and like, and this is a tool, and it's it's more decentralized, it's censorship resistant, it's anti-fragile. That totally makes sense for kind of a number of developers in this space because they're focused on their business, and so I think that is how I would say we break the tribalism. Is really going back to like what we're trying to achieve here, and really helping solving problems that developers and entrepreneurs have, and so through that, right. We have some partnerships in a pipeline. We're not gonna know, but there's some exciting coming, kind of throughout next weeks, and yeah, it's really about combining this value propositions that blockchain operating system has with kind of the opportunities where this is like very challenging, right? Either kind of new ecosystems that don't have yet enough users, and it's really hard to navigate and find what are the applications that exist and launching in the ecosystem, or it's somewhere where applications really trying to gain better retention of the user and want to re-engage users easier, and so through that they can kind of leverage this platform. And so as I said, like already, for those who snooping on chain, right? Everything is on chain, and so you can find a lot of the things being built actually in real time on chain. So you probably can find some of this ahead of time for those who seek alpha. But obviously partnerships will be coming in due time.
Got it. And I think just to further touch up on that, because I mean I've been in the industry like almost like forever at this point. It's actually almost 10 years right now. So sometimes I actually forgot how difficult it is for some of the new user to onboard, right? So I remember like a recent case, someone figure out all the difficulty of onboarding, from first opening like exchange account, pass through the KYC, and then try to transfer some ETH to his MetaMask wallet because he need to pay for a gas fee. to be able to play with some applications, right? And after that, he still need to discover what app he can actually use. So I think like blockchain operating system, just putting through that particular user journey actually will be able to solve all of this because if I'm correct, like right now, actually opening a Near account actually doesn't really cost any gas, right? Doesn't cost storage, so you can open account right away with your email address. Boom, that's right, about 200. And then immediately, you can start engaging with all the applications through like a curated, list of, a discovery page. So I think that's really cool. And almost kind of reminds me of, the WeChat, mini app, or the Alipay mini app, kind of like an ecosystem, which obviously is one of the biggest things, in China. And I guess you probably, also got some inspiration from those two super ads during your
For
time in
sure,
China.
yeah. Yeah, it was like how do we create an open WeChat, right? That's all. Like in the back of my mind, this is a question I've been asking myself for the past almost 6 years now, right? How do we create like an open platform that can power billions of users, to be doing commerce, to be doing communication, to be doing kind of community, and I think like WeChat has been a platform for that for a billion users, and Alipay as well. And I think the mini app's been kind of a very powerful tool to do that. But being a closed platform, being kind of lock-in almost, it has its limitations. And so here we have technology that can power something that is truly kind of open, that people can benefit from community commerce and create new economies, and we just need to really give them the tools that are, start with 0x and a hash, first 20 bytes of hash of a public key, right? So really, how do we get to a level where, like for a billion users, you really need like everyone be able to use this and not need to go through all of the motions of things. So like one of the really cool things that Near has been doing, has an application for a while, which is also some of our roots, is called NearCrowd, which is a platform for data labeling. And so it's been renewed now with a new team working behind it, and they really try, like, what it enables to do is really new people who don't know anything about crypto, who don't know anything about blockchain, can start doing some small tasks and start earning from that, right? This can be data, machine learning, crowdsourcing. It can be marketing, for example. It can be learning. And then through that, they earn first, stable coins. And then now you don't the fees that you're paying to transact with the blockchain have been paid by the applications through meta transactions. But the benefit is now you have new users who have earned directly on the platform. They don't even have an exchange account. They don't need it, right? They started from the blockchain, from self-custody account. And so now going from there, they can start interacting with DeFi and start earning and transacting there. They can interact with potentially commerce that's like physical commerce where they pay with crypto. They can be like actually requesting gigs from other people as well. So kind of we're creating a new wave of people who start with crypto, not by buying it, but by actually earning it, and then start interacting through and like experiencing all this through discovery, right? Through finding new applications. And I think that's what excites me, like always. How do we solve this supply chain problem that, like, right now to participate in crypto you need to like buy in, and it's like there's only a fraction of people in the world who can afford to buy into crypto, right? So how do you earn into crypto, and now leverage that to prosperity?
Yeah, it is quite counterintuitive in the sense that, like traditional in Web2 is always, some sort of like a freemium model to start with, right? And crypto is like the reverse. So that definitely will show some people off. But on the other hand, Airjob is just not really, healthy in most cases. I mean, I wouldn't name specific project, but obviously recently there are a couple like interesting Airjob where people, complaining here and there, right? And obviously, there are always story about people spending 6 months and earn a couple $1 million. So some crazy, maneuvering. But it's not actually getting the actual user. So I think this new cloud thing, if we can actually, truly start onboarding those people who are still new to crypto, but through some small tasks, doing some work, earn some, very small amount of crypto and start engaging with it, they can probably, quickly discover the beauty of crypto, versus, like right now, crypto, I would say, still pretty much highly speculative and trading focused, right? But I guess just one more question on this, and I might take a tiny bit of a detour because one very important key point that you just mentioned is machine learning. So can you actually, further, expand that a little bit, how, near crowd and, potential BOS and AI like near can all kind of like mesh together?
For sure, yeah. So the kind of conceptually, AI is a really kind of powerful instrument, right? That is already changing and going to be changing even more of our life. And I don't think like most of our society kind of infrastructure is prepared for that. And I think a lot of the blockchain and kind of cryptography especially is a tool to also kind of committing on I call it like the government OS, right? Like the operating system of our society. And I think this is where what BOS is offering is really a lot of the primitives that you will need to start kind of innovating on the society that we need to do. So just to give you some examples, right? Most of the kind of government services run on language, right? You send them a form that is filled out. You send them a document. You send them a lawsuit, IRS filing, tax filing, whatever it is. It's all language, and it's all kind of somewhat structured, but a lot of it is actually like needs to be interpreted by a human. And kind of prior to this, like there's always been ways people try to kind of go around this, right? Loopholes as well, con man, etc. So it's an existing problem. Like the language is ill-specified. There's issues with it. People can continue changing what they say over time. But it's been kind of usually very contained and sometimes prosecuted rapidly. With kind of this evolution of AI that we see, there's a reason why it's called language model, right? It's allowing to really kind of effectively create like very targeted, texts and language kind of positioning. And so what it can really do is, you can create and DDoS a legal system, right? You can, for example, create an IRS like tax return that's like millions of pages long and like requires somebody to read through all this. You can create kind of lots of different approaches where kind of existing systems just not designed for this level of kind of scalable, language generation. And this is where kind of blockchain and blockchain operating system comes in. Is really powering like what should be the next wave of technology powering the government, right? Like a lot of things should be cryptographically secure. A lot of things should have a very clear supply chain of where this data came from, where is this, for example, kind of attribution of quotes, information. Like if submitting a form, it should be very like structured and signed by the submitter, etc. And so, and always that some token economics, etc., will come in as well. So all of that is really kind of the tooling that we will need to start adjusting our kind of how our societal services work. And so blockchain operating system, for really what we're trying to do is to build an operating system for post-AI world, right? When we kind of very powerful AI, including agents that now actually can behave on the internet, using blockchain as almost a way to interact with the real world. Kind of blockchain operating system is really providing this platform to both kind of contain and authenticate the real things, as well as provide a platform for AI agents to interact with people and each other in one place. And so, and like at some point, it will not really matter if it's a person or AI agent. It will matter what is the past experience of that specific account or address or whatever it is, and kind of what is they doing now. right? So you will be building on-chain reputation and really providing that, and can be completely like an AI agent that's running, with a mission of, for example, solving global warming, and they have a DAO, they're earning money, and they reinvesting it back into people going and like planting trees, right? And they're using Near tasks as a platform to actually to go and do tasks in real world for AI, right? So we'll have this kind of system where all of this working together, and it's like all cryptographically kind of secured and allowing to really transact with finance, with kind of value directly in one platform. So that's kind of where I see going. Obviously, there's still a bunch of pieces missing, but there's folks are working on how to build AI agents that are indeed kind of on chain, that are able to interact and like have like run under consensus and like secure and private. There's folks, obviously all this cryptography and supply chain. There's a lot of folks looking at that, like how do we do content management. So all of that is kind of really will need to come together. And I think, at least like from my perspective, blockchain operating system is a really good frame for kind of filling in these gaps and kind of creating the platform of the future.
That's awesome. I guess to sum up, like blockchain operating system is it's not just like really powerful decentralized WeChat, but it also has the potential to become the super powerful framework that power AI and everything else that is going to come in the future. So super cool.
Exciting. So specify the reason why someone might deploy IPFS. Should I repeat the question? Can you hear me? Do I need to repeat the question? Sorry.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
Yes, please.
So can you specify the reason why someone might choose to deploy front-end on BOS versus IPFS?
Yeah, for sure. So IPFS is a decentralized storage, and obviously there's a Filecoin that's like actually the economic incentives for data storage, but IPFS is kind of the core protocol, and so even right now, like IPFS and Filecoin and REEF are used to store images and to store kind of the content of the things that happen on the operating system, right? So it's not either or. But if we're talking about building an application, right? The reality is application, first of all, are not a static thing, right? IPFS is really good with the static content where you have an image, you throw it, and that image will exist forever in a way, or at least like there, and it's the same image, right? It's not going to change. That's not how websites work, right? You keep updating it, you keep launching new versions, you keep doing things. The other side is you want to use other people's content and you want to leverage kind of other people's information. And then you need it for all of this, right? So the way, to discover things, to be able to search things, you need a place where all of this is kind of registered and linked. And that's what blockchain operating system discovery layer provides, right? It's a protocol where of storing kind of pieces of front end, right? We call them components that are interlinked, right? It's really easy to learn. And when you open up, like when we looked at Near.org, what happened actually, it pulled that directly from blockchain, the kind of the source code of the component itself, which linked to other components, right? Maybe there was a button component, maybe there was the NFT component, it pulls as well, and then rendered all that for the user, right? And so that kind of flexibility that, now you can really easily, for example, do A/B testing for your users on which component you want to see. Or somebody updated NFT because there's a new standard for NFTs that came out that, supports not just RVs, but now maybe like new bundler, for example, endpoints. And like before, as a developer, you would need to go rebuild your website, redeploy it. If it's IPFS, you need to redeploy to IPFS and then go like vote for your DAO to update the link of the ETH link for new IPFS. Here, it gets updated, if you allow to have kind of linkage to updated version, you get updated version directly on your website right away for the users that load it, right? And so kind of you don't have like this kind of inflexibility on one side, and you have kind of really faster developer environment. Like from what we've seen, the developers who usually kind of use this component system, the discovery part of the BOS, they can develop the front ends like 3 times faster than even Web 2 like standard time, because you don't need scaffolding, you don't need hosting, you can reuse a lot of the existing. Like there's already over 4,000 components. There's like everything from the smallest, like I think like the most used component actually I looked up is times ago. And so it's a component that you give it a time and it shows you how long has it been since that time. And so this is the most used component right now. But like a lot of it is like very primitive things, right? That as a developer, you keep building over and over and over again. And so now you don't need to, you can just like reuse, you can look at how other people implemented and like fork it or, modify it or kind of take pieces of code from them. And so it's really fast, like really faster. It's kind of way more composable. It's still all cryptographic authenticated, and it allows you to really kind of build kind of this in this framework, which people can now discover new applications and use them, and they're already logged in. They already have all those pieces kind of connected into.
Cool. Amos, do you have anything to add?
Not really. Like to me, I guess one big takeaway from the conversation today is just sometimes it's not either yes or no, right? Not really just one way or another. Like the whole goal of BOS is really like this operating system. sorry for repeating the phrase, but it is something that can combine the different elements of blockchain or Web3 all together, right? So I think that's to me that's a big takeaway from the conversation today. So.
Yeah, exactly. It's going away from any of the single like X or Y and say why not all of them, right? So like for example, somebody built an application that allows to swap on Ethereum through Uniswap, on I think ZK Sync or ZK through ZeroSwap, and on Near protocols through Refinance in one UI, right? And so like this is the things you can start building, right? It's like really rich experiences that unite kind of across the boundaries of specific blockchain. Same as like NFT primitive on the BOS discovery works across IPFS, RV. I think there's more things that are being added. So like kind of at the end is like as a user, you don't really care where exactly is that thing. It's like you just want to interact with it. And so we can really now make this kind of rich experiences. And then, through that, like it can connect to kind of best of all the worlds.
Exactly. Like that's actually one thing I wanted to say is that, like ask any Web2, user today who's not a developer, ask them like, what is HTTPS, right? Like who cares, right? So I think that's really like the next step for blockchain to really try to gain like a more mainstream adoption is really just to, abstract away a lot of the complexity associated with blockchain right now, and really trying to, make it easy. So please continue, Alex.
Okay, so my next question, okay, it's probably like what our audience are most curious about. How can BOS contribute to Near ecosystem on-chain activities token demand? So asking this especially from a value capture perspective.
Yeah, that's a good question. So I mean, already what we have right now, right, is that kind of every account that's created is a Near account. All of the things that you see, like including fast auth, like creation of account, underneath it's a Near transactions that are happening to power it. The social feed, for example, I mean, if Amos was logged in, you would see like a social feed. Every single thing is actually a Near to store social. There's actually a storage cost as well associated with that. So all of that is actually powered by Near economy. The front end's kind of storing the source code of this as well, and we use some methods to like make sure it's affordable for developers and the users, but at the same time, it's really kind of powering with Near economy there. And then as we kind of evolving and actually adding more layers to the platform, right? And especially we're talking about middleware. So kind of one of the newer pieces that we're launching called Query API that's really kind of giving developers a really easy framework data kind of dynamically. And again, it's kind of, you can write smart contracts in JavaScript, you can write front end in JavaScript. And so the missing piece has been how to write the kind of the middleware in JavaScript, right? So Query API really kind of closing that gap, allowing you to just kind of, as part of a smart contract, deploy what indexes you want and how things should work, and launch that. And so you have a full potentially application end to end. For example, in JavaScript, you can still use Rust, you can still use Solidity as well. But with all that, right, the Query API will be run by nodes as well. And so these nodes will need to stake. There are more layers, again, like other layers as well, like discovery. Amos mentioned, right, there needs to be a curated list of applications that people can discover. Because at the same time that like it's an open platform, anybody can build apps inside this. You still need to curate, and so that will also have token economics in there. So there's more layers of token economics are being added across the stack on top of already existing kind of economy that is powered by Near, by really powering a lot more transactions through interface, not just Near protocol developers, but also now all the other developers in the ecosystem. But the other thing that, because we're kind of creating this platform that attracts users from all the places, right? The big benefit here, users who are coming from other chains can really easily experience what Near is. And I think one of the challenges has been that, again, talking to Near developers has been that, like, hey, we cannot access the users of other chains, right, really easily. And so now through that, the applications on Near as well are getting more usage, right, and actually getting more traction through that. So really it's about kind of powering all of this and making the flywheel way more powerful. And like all of that inside is using Near token and kind of Near economy of utility that we already have, and adding more.
In other words, it's more like, because of the blockchain operating system, there will actually just be more organic usage. I guess across the board, more transaction, more user base, right? At the same time, when some of the user base who originally not so familiar with Near, but once they discover, the beauty of Near, how easy it is, they might actually be switching over to some of the I guess the more native apps on Near in the future. So that's where the value capture, kind of coming from both angle, I'll say.
Yeah, and like again, developers who build, for example, for like Ethereum apps in discovery need to, pretty much use Near to store the front ends and kind of power that, right? And we're working on some of the more mechanics where if you come into fast auth, you can transact on other chains, but again, you will be actually paying Near fees. So we're kind of creating like meta transactions on other chains as well. So like there's a lot more tooling that's going to come in, and more layers that's going to come in to power all that together.
Once again, everything is actually behind the scene. So user actually don't have to feel a thing. But that doesn't necessarily mean, there aren't actually, Near being transact, behind each transaction itself.
Exactly. Yeah, so I mentioned on the product side, right, there's a pretty kind of long roadmap. We're actually going to be publishing some of that up until end of the year. A lot of it is kind of finishing up the product that we just released, and really kind of, building the meat around the initial skeleton. And at the same time, it's about go-to-market, right? So partnering with, other ecosystems and applications, as well as bringing some of the kind of enterprise and like Web 2 to Web 3 transformations on top of it. Because again, like blockchain operating system is a really good framework now because it kind of removes this, again, tribalism that people before, if you talk with any of the enterprises, right, they need to like decide between a specific infrastructure and a protocol, and now figure out like they have no information, right, how to figure out, and like, is it going to be there in like 1-2 years? You kind of seen crypto come and go, and so blockchain operating system is like kind of peace of mind to really start using this technology, onboard users, and then have flexibility under the hood, as well as like reuse. You can build a game on Near that uses, for example, Polygon NFT now in a BOS very easily, and so things like that, kind of enabling new use cases as well. And so all of that is like really kind of go-to markets around Web3, around Web 2 to Web3, as well as like more broader bottom-up developer engagement, right? So as I said, like Web 2 developers actually very on Near, like way quicker than anything else. They see the values, they see kind of why this tooling is really powerful for them to build their innovative applications. And so really going to like blockchain clubs, going to bootcamps, going to kind of professionals who are looking to explore Web3 and Node.js communities, and kind of really growing the bottom-up developer base as well. So really kind of this like almost three-pronged approach of going after very connected, but at the same time with the dedicated programs to each of these audiences. So through that, really building out more and more of the platform as well, getting more developers. So if you haven't seen Dev Hub on Near, is a place for this kind of community of developers who are themselves organizing around projects or building things. We have like the whole zero knowledge community there that's building amazing like bridges and private. There's kind of protocol development and other things happening there. A lot of the BOS itself development is going to be happening there. So like really organizing developers around the world to contribute as well to the platform. And so while more and more kind of integrations and kind of really proper use cases being built out and businesses being built out on the BOS.
Okay, thank you. We're very excited to see how BOS keep growing and also keep solving real world problem, and also help the entire community grow. So thank you so much. That concludes our AMA session today. Thank you, Illia and Amos, for taking the time to share your valuable insight with us. So for the giveaway, to enter, please follow the instruction we posted on Near Blockchain Twitter. Follow our Twitter and subscribe to Near YouTube channel. Make sure to screenshot your proof of attendance and comment on our event post. Once again, thank you all for joining us today. If you have any future questions or want to learn more about BOS, be sure to join our community, and have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.